Right. So, hi guys. My name's Joe from Two in a Bed. Today we are with Will and Sue. Say hello, Will and Sue.
Hello.
Hello, Will and Sue.
Like Simon says that, isn't
Are
it?
Will and Sue the only listeners? What?
Yeah.
Viewers?
That's it. They're the only two.
Yeah. So that'll be us then. Oh, you have. You've already gone off.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back on again.
You're just watching yourselves. Back on again, don't worry. It'll keep going on and off. That's all it'll be, just an hour of just me being a robot.
Just an hour of Wi-Fi trouble.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask a few questions. And I guess the best place to start is the start. So, you both went to drama school. Sue went to Italia Conti. Will went to Royal Welsh College. How was that? How was that experience?
Do you want to go first?
I'll let you go.
Okay, I'll go first.
Ladies first.
My experience was really positive. Unlike a conventional drama school, I actually left school, packed my bags and went to London at 16, 17, so I was fairly young. And I guess for me personally, that was a good thing because I didn't have time to think about anything. I just had to sort of keep my head down and just do it basically. And I had the best time of my life. I've got to say, it was unbelievably brilliant. So thank you, Italia Conti. Thank you, Trafford Council as well, because they believed in me enough to sort of help fund my education. And without that, I just simply couldn't have done it, really. So I feel really lucky that I had that opportunity to do it and just go for it, really. So it was an incredible learning experience. It made me grow up incredibly quickly because I had to live on my own. There was no sort of halls of residence or anything. It was kind of, you were literally on your own, and it was up to you to get yourself up every morning, make sure you do your classes and stuff. So it was kind of, you had to self-police to make it, really. It was one of those schools where you had to dig deep and just get on with it and do the best. So in a nutshell, that's it. Over to you, Will.
So I would just echoing what Sue was just saying there about self-discipline, which is something I think is hugely underestimated and underrated as being vital towards our profession, I think. For my own self, also, yes, thank you to our councils. So Wigan LEA did the same for me, which again, at a time like today, when really we should be getting education for free. We were in the lucky times.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I mean, mine didn't really start with drama school. Mine started probably more at school, really, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't know how to become an actor, didn't know what was going on, didn't know how I was going to go about it. All I'd say, if somebody would say to me, "Oh, right, so what are you going to do?" And I'd say, "I'm going to be an actor," and they're going to say, "How are you doing that?" I don't know. And I didn't have a clue, didn't have the slightest idea. And I kind of stumbled through it, really. It was my drama teacher at Bedford High School sort of like said, this was middle of my fifth year, or middle of year 11, as it is now, saying, "So, are you going to college or anything?" And I was going, not that I'm aware of. And he was saying, "Well, haven't you applied anywhere?" And it was like, "Well, no, because I didn't know where to apply or what to do if you wanted to become an actor." So he just said, "Right, well, Salford Tech are doing stuff." So I went to Salford Tech, kind of muddled my way through that, and then even by the end of college, I still didn't know what I was doing. So I muddled my way through going to drama school as well. Nobody was really pointing anybody in the right direction at that time. It was one of the main reasons why I thought a Will and Away was such a good idea, because it's something that creating something whereby you can pass on this information at source, shall we say? So yeah. And how was Welsh College? Welsh College was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. I think it's an interesting one because I've often thought that you either are an actor or you're not. But I don't know how much A Will and a Way has changed my viewpoint on that.
Yeah.
Seeing various people blossom who maybe when they first arrived, I didn't think, you'd look at them and you kind of go, well, it's never going to happen. And yet, strangely enough, a few years down the line, suddenly something seems to explode, if you like. And it is sometimes like that.
We've had this discussion before where it's just sort of something clicks, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it is. It's like an explosion, though, isn't it? Yeah. You suddenly go, oh my God, they've suddenly latched onto it. It's bizarre how that happens. You think, what is it? What is it specifically in that person's development suddenly sparked that?
Yeah, it's almost as if they've been taking it in that entire time.
Yeah.
But only now it's really sort of computed, I guess.
Yeah. It's an odd situation, isn't it?
Because it's lovely when it happens.
Yeah, it's an amazing, beautiful thing when it happens. You almost can't put your finger on what makes it happen. What is it that clicked? Odd.
Obviously, of course, both of you have been sort of, taught me a lot of valuable lessons in acting and elsewhere as well, of course.
Bottles of milk.
What's that?
Pints of milk.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about that.
Why not? Why are we not talking about that?
So, right, so just to fill everybody in. So, it was in The Way in Abberton. And Will said, "Will you run to the shop and get a pint of milk?" No, hang on a minute. Go on, you explain it, because I'm a bit confused myself now.
Oh, nip to the shop, Joe, and get a pint of milk. And I gave you about £1. And you came back with one of those 4 pints. Massive ones. Huge thing. And I was going, what? I only asked for a pint of milk. And your response was, oh, right, well, I thought that was a pint. No, Joe. I don't written on it, 4 pints.
The thing is, though, like, it wasn't as if I was at an age where that's acceptable. This is like last year.
Yeah, it makes it sound like as if you were only 5 at the time. But no, I think you were 20, I think.
Yeah. Oh dear.
And then what was bizarre was the fact that I said, "But I only gave you £1. How did you afford that?" And you actually used your own money to buy it. Had you forgotten that?
Yeah. Well, I felt bad, so I was like, I thought, oh well, I don't want to be tight about. You know what I mean? I don't want to one whale cough up 20p, please. You know what I mean?
I would have even given you the rest of the money, but I literally only had that £1 on me. That was why I said, "Go and get a pint of milk."
Anyway, milk aside. Valuable lessons, especially in acting. For you guys, who would you say gave you them lessons? Is there anybody in particular that stands out as somebody that you think back on and think, oh, some of the stuff I learned from them was just incredible?
That is such a good question, and it's so difficult to answer, Joe.
Such a long answer, really.
Yeah. I think it's like an accumulation of lots and lots of different people that you look up to when you're working with and going, wow, tell me. And I was never afraid to ask questions. I think it's probably because I entered the industry at 20. I was kind of out there working. Yeah. I didn't feel as though I felt silly asking questions. And I think, it was a brilliant actress that I worked with. A lady called Emma, and she's married now, so I can't say a second, but it was Cunningham at the time. She taught me a lot. And she actually said to me, you never stop asking questions. Even when you're 50 odd, always ask questions, because there's always something new that you can learn, and there's always something else that you can do, and think about the way that you do the scene, think about And so, I think it started with Em, and she's still a really good mate now, actually. So yes, Emma Cunningham. Sorry.
I mean, I would entirely echo exactly what Sue said there. The moment you think you know it all, then you might as well give it up, because if you know it all, what are you doing there? I would entirely echo that. But also, I mean, flipping out, there's so many people. I mean, at school, it would have been Mr. Maguire, my drama teacher. At Salford Tech, it would have been a guy called Steve Keating, who was just such a wonderful character. Then Andrew Neil and Paul Clements.
We met Andrew.
Yeah, we met him quite recently. Andrew Neil and Paul Clements at Welsh College. But then professionally, I mean, you just learn so much quicker when you're out in the big wide world. But also, again, every different sort of type of acting as well. Everything from, say, Shane Meadows doing improvisation stuff to I don't know, Polly Finlay doing theatre, to Jessica Swale, to
Jeff Bullymore, who I work with, and
doing Chris Lawson at
Eva Pope. We're still learning from her now. We kind of get, well, we obviously don't get together now because we're on lockdown, but we used to get together and just freeform it. And it's, because we're not working, we weren't working at the time, and we used to come over for a brew and play. It's that, really. I think we never stop actually acting, even when we're kind of not got a contract. We still kind of tend to.
And it's also worth mentioning as well, just as inspiring and just as much. It's not necessarily knowledge, but it's inspiration that we get from the likes of you, Joe, the likes of Paul Tomlin, the likes of you know what I mean, the likes of every single young person that we've worked with that has inspired us. That I could go through the entire list, but I would miss people out, and that it would worry me more that I'd miss people out than naming them, if you like.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There are so many that have inspired me, and thus have I hopefully inspired them in return.
That's really interesting point, actually, because like you were saying, you look at the people. I mean, it's probably worth explaining now that Will and Sue run an acting class called A Will and a Way, which is where I learned acting, where I came through, sort of thing. And basically, they taught me everything that I know, I'd say. But when you look at the people around you that you're acting with, and what even if they haven't gone on to do anything, just their standard and the talent and ability and stuff that they bring to the table, it was amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you look at people now,
I mean, acting is not a competitive sport. It's very much you give and give and give, and then you take, and it's this beauty. When it works well, we love working with generous actors like yourself, Joe. You're an incredibly generous actor. You just give everything to the people around you, and then that raises their game. And it's almost being open as opposed to closing yourself off. It's acceptance and just going with it, and that's when it works, and that's when it gets really exciting. And you've done something really cool when you come off the stage or something. You go, wow, that was just that. You know that, Joe, that feeling of...
Because it is the joy of creation, isn't it? It is the joy of creation.
That's the best about
something. Of course it is. The creation of it is a team effort. It can't be done by one person alone.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing a one-person show, you still can't do it alone.
You've got a writer, you've got a director.
Exactly. You've got texter, you've got tech
producer.
crew, do you know what I mean? You've got other people, you've got front of house, do you know what I mean? Everything. It is indeed a team effort, and if it isn't a team effort, that's when you will start to see the cracks in what people are doing. Well, it doesn't need to be much for an audience to see that either.
Of course, because your experience starts the minute you walk through the door, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Yeah.
It starts even before that. It might even be the phone call that you make to buy your ticket. It starts there. It literally starts from that. In fact, it starts from the moment you look at that poster, or you look at that. You look at that advert, or whatever it is, social media, the photo, the marketing. It starts from there.
Completely.
And goes all the way through, right to the moment you get home, and you're hopefully still thinking about what it was that what the experience was for you, and how that has enriched your life in one way or another. That sounded a bit arty-farty, but I meant it entirely truthfully.
No, I think you bang on. I think a lot of people understand that because when you come out of the theatre, you feel different every time. You have a different, a different experience. Whether it's something you enjoyed or you disliked,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that it's an experience, and you'll take that away, won't you?
Yeah. It can sometimes be equally as valid if you come away going, that was crap.
Yeah.
Because that's interesting, because that's the other thing about learning as well. Again, because it's something that we always try and push for in a will and a way, is that everybody performs. And you will learn more by being rubbish in class, but being brave, than you will if you are really good all the time, but never actually expand your mind or never expand anything that you've ever done. You kind of sit back on your laurels and kind of go, oh no, well, I'm really good. Because how many people have you seen who do that? I mean, I've seen it now 20 odd years. The amount of people who come in and they're really good, but they never learn anything. The reason why they don't learn anything is not because they're not being taught or it's because of their own reticence, because they believe that they kind of are already at a level that they've kind of, they don't need teaching. And you kind of go, well, you ain't never going to learn anything then, are you?
Yeah. If you're not willing to learn, and
Exactly. You have to be, because it is a two-way street. If you don't want to learn, then you won't learn. Of course you won't. If you feel like you've already got it, then you won't get any more, will you? Because you're never going to advance.
It should be a problem, just knocking on Hollywood's door. You know what I mean? If you've got it all, then not a problem. Off you go, then.
Exactly. So
what
are you doing here? Yeah. But even then, those people who are in Hollywood, they will tell you themselves that they still go to acting classes and they still will learn from other people all the time. And that full circle. So then full circle, as in we come back to exactly what you were saying, that we don't stop learning. There is no end to it. And if there is, then we might as well
stop doing it.
Stop doing it now.
Yeah,
we already know it all, don't we?
Yeah. I think that's that. I can't remember who said it now, but somebody said to me that after finishing every show, you feel like you've learned something new, and it's another lesson. Do you know what I mean? It's another year in school after finishing each show.
Yeah.
And the name you mentioned just then was Shane Meadows, who of course directed Will in This Is England. What was that like? Because I know a lot of people think of Shane Meadows as one of the greatest British directors, if not directors of all time. What was that like? Because he obviously has a very unique style as well.
I would agree. But as a man, Shane is just as normal as you, me, and anybody else who's walking down the street. And I think that's what makes him so special. His style of directing is so rare, which is such a shame. There should be far more done done in the way that he does stuff. But nobody really wants to take that risk because it's for an investor. It's a risky thing to take. But it's so liberating. Basically, it's absolutely freeing as an actor. However, you really do have to be willing to learn, because it really is the most testing as well. Because even though you're free to do what you want, almost, what will then happen is essentially, so some of the scenes that I took part in, would be running for 50 minutes, and that would be the cameras would just run for 50 minutes, and just you'd hit your own flow, and you'd be in character, you'd play out a scene, and then literally you'd step in at the end of 50 minutes, sort of cut, step in and kind of then go, that bit there, if you do that bit at the end of that bit, instead of moving that bit to there, and don't bother with that bit, because that doesn't work, that bit. And then so you're then, as an actor, kind of then questioning everything that you've just improvised for an hour. And then and saying to yourself, oh, hang on, I can't even remember. Did I say it? Was that what I said? Did I say that? Oh my God. Right. Oh, okay. What? Don't say that bit, but do say that bit, but don't say it there. Say it over there. And that, which is incredibly testing, because you're then not relying on a script, and I know lots of people who do that. Do you know what I mean? And feel like as if I don't hold on to this forever, I'll never get through it. And it's, you know, it is literally throw the script away and, you know, free yourself up. But incredibly testing. It really is. It really does test your brain because.
Oh my God! Talk about learning things. God, this was awful, Joe. This was awful. So it was I think it was like one of my very first jobs, and it was a really big gig. And it was like a BBC One sitcom, but quite a new concept of a sitcom. Anyway, it matters not. I was working with this amazing actor, and most of you will probably know him, called Bernard Hill. He was playing my dad. And me being dead eager, you know, I was watching him like a hawk and going, oh my God, how do you do that? And I noticed one day that he was doing that. We were doing a scene and he just kind of got his sides, which is the script you get on set. And he went, and put the script down and just delivered it. And I said, oh, do you mind me asking? And he said, I don't like to learn things sometimes, you know, the night before. He said, because if I can learn something on set, it just feels a bit fresher. It feels a bit, you know, more naturally, it just comes out. It's not stayed. And you know, he gave me this big speech. So the next day, I decided. I was like, oh shit, I don't know my life at all. And it was really, as a 20-year-old, right? And I was just like, no, never again. That obviously works for this dude, who was an incredible actor, and who's also got a memory like, you know, like a genius. And obviously, I don't. So that was a big lesson learned. Because everyone was going, what were you doing last night? Did you just not decide to actually? I was trying this new technique out. This big long speech, Joe, and it was like, oh my God, never again. So that was like total egg on my face.
Listen, if Bernard can do it, I can do it. Not a problem.
It's me thinking, it's like, oh, you know, just flow with the Bernard stuff. You know, never again. So sorry, I interjected.
Not at all. No. It just it amplifies and echoes and resonates for people who every single job that you do, you'll be working with different people, and therefore then they will demand and expect different things from you. And your job as an actor is to be able to move to whichever style they've chosen to work with. And whether that be because, I mean, certainly soaps and stuff like that, they do not want you to say a single word.
Oh, no, you've got to learn it line for line.
Right.
You've got to learn it, you know, they want you to say exactly what is written on the script. Regardless of whether you're going, that just sounds rubbish. They don't care. That's exactly because it has to go through so many people to get to you as the actor that they're not interested. I remember the very first job I did was on Emmerdale. And my line was, "Oh yeah, you and whose army?" And even at the ripe old age of 21 or 22, or I can't remember exactly, 22, that sort of about your age, even at that ripe old age, and I was kind of going, I don't think anybody says this. They really don't say this. Can we change it to something else? No. That's what you say. That's your line. That's what you've got to say. And I was going, I can't believe that they're going to make me say this. So you know, it just sort of really brings it home that everybody will work in a different way.
Yeah, it's different every single time. Actually, you do notice, and you've got to be on your toes and kind of just go with it. You know, go with it. And sometimes you do find yourself having an out-of-body experience for a couple of seconds going, you know, there's that moment of, oh, okay, no, it's fine, it's all right, it's fine, you know, and then you sort of get back into the flow. But it really is different every single time, which is good, because otherwise it'd be really dull, you know, it'd be really dull.
Oh, no, you're working with Shane every day.
Oh, well, I mean, that's completely different.
But again, it would be, you know, it becomes second nature because you just get used to working that way. And then sadly, the other thing is then you miss it because you kind of go, oh, you know, you go back and do Corrie, you kind of go, oh, I wish I could do more with this.
Yeah.
I loved being on Corrie though.
I did.
I really loved it.
I did.
It was such a buzz.
But just such a different set.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
totally different set where you've got to say exactly what's written, and there's no stepping outside of that. And but
well, no, but you've got to make it work. That's a really good lesson that we do say to our students. Me a little bit.
Yeah.
Is sometimes they go, no, just try it with the exact dialogue and see if we can make it work. That's the key, is to try and make it work, however bizarre it feels to you as an actor.
The trick, and it's worth mentioning, because the one thing I really love about the Corrie set is the amount of time you spend on set, which is virtually no time at all, because you literally get to rehearse once, and then they'll shoot it, and that's that. And they're moving on. So literally you'll be, 20 minutes on a scene.
Seriously.
You're moving on.
You're in, you're out.
So if you've only got one scene that day, you'll only be in work for half an hour.
Which isn't bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, you take it.
You know what I mean? And that's a lovely situation to be in. But again, you've got to have the ability to sort of turn that over in that period of time.
Yeah.
Which again is a totally different discipline.
Yeah. To
something like theatre where you're there 9 till 9. Going over and over and over and over and over it. So they're all so different. That was a long answer to Shane Meadows' question, wasn't it?
It's great. It's brilliant. Do you know, you mentioned Corrie, and when I think of you guys in Corrie, for some reason my head automatically goes to Will on a roof.
I've been in Corrie 3 times, might I add. 3 different characters.
What was you as well? Because obviously,
The first time I ever did Corrie, I was an Elvis impersonator. I was an Elvis impersonator, and I was building the smoking shelter with a character called Vince.
Don't look at me. I wasn't there.
It's one of those things people turn to you, isn't it? Automatic. With a character called Vince, we built the smoking shelter around the back of the pub.
Oh, which I had a fagging actually.
And then after that, I was completely different. I was what do they call them?
Like a sergeant.
Prisoner of
Prisoner of war.
No, not prisoner. Military police. Military police. I was military police in the next one, and I was coming arresting the guy with the ginger hair. I can't remember his name.
You're asking me.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
I don't know his name.
Well, that's when we were there together, but we didn't know each other.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah,
and then obviously the roof, where everybody called me a stalker, which was interesting.
Yeah.
even though she shacked up with some bloke above a taxi rank.
I must say, I felt like your character's very justified.
I mean, the roof thing was a desperation thing. Bearing in mind that was the end. That was like his final gambit to get his wife back. And yet he was a stalker. Strange, really. He was a bit odd.
Oh yeah, what characters did you play in Corrie?
Oh no, I've only played one character on Corrie. She was called Lynn Fullwood. And she was in prison with Gail, so it was basically just two-hander. That's all it was. The set was obviously built, but it was right next to where the knickers were made in the knicker factory, which was hilarious because the lady playing Gail used to come on with a fake leg and like surprise me because we're in bunks, and she put one of her legs underneath and then put a sexy pair of tights on one of her legs and go, I was like that. Absolute laugh. It was brilliant. So I was sort of her cellmate and then confidant, because my character realised that she was a really good human being and she wasn't going to survive in the prison system. My character was just like a petty thief, so she wasn't a murderer or anything horrible. She was actually a sweet human being. Just struggling in life, lots of kids, wrong side of the tracks, and I really, really liked the character. And she ended up defending Gail so much because she was dead hard that I beat up. Oh my God, I can't remember the actress's name. She was really sweet as well. Ken
Barlow's
Barlow's daughter. I took her into the toilets and gave her a right good kicking. To stand up for Gail, for crying out loud, because she was innocent. And that was my character. We had a ball. It was really good fun. And she just made me feel like at home and almost mothered me, because she was saying, Helen Worth was saying she always remembers her first day, and she was petrified as a young actor and used to hide behind a little wall, hoping that no one would notice her. And she said, I don't want anyone feeling that way. And so she was just ace. And because she was so ace, like, we clicked. Like, our chemistry was really good together, and, you know, and it clicked. And like I say, it was a joy.
It's a lovely relaxed set
as well. To work, you know.
Yeah, it's a lovely relaxed set as well on Coronation Street. Even though you'd think it was frantic. It's actually, even though there's so much going on, and they're doing various different episodes, you know, as you're doing, you know, you're constantly jumping backwards and forwards. You don't know which episode and where it's meant to fit in your storyline. There again is another one of those things that you have to get used to the idea, you know, particularly when you've been working in theatre, that this idea that you do everything chronologically and it will all make sense. When you do something like Coronation Street,
it's all over the show,
all over the place. I mean, you literally could be doing episode 4576 and then doing episode 4522. Yeah. So you could, you know, in literally in the same day. You know what I mean?
So your homework is for that period is to work out where you've been, where you're going, what's just happened before. So in your head, when you're ready to shoot. Because I did a children's drama called Hetty Feather for sort of 6 years. That was incredibly quick. I mean, it was quick. And you really had to know exactly where you were as the character, what had happened before. Because if you hadn't, it would just look odd. I mean, you do have help with continuity. And if you get a great continuity lady, they are, or fella. Sounded very sexist, that, but a lot of it did, and I apologise actually, but a lot of continuity just happened to be ladies, and I don't know whether that's changed. But if you do get a good continuity person, they're gold dust, because they will actually help you out. If you kind of get a bit of a head fart, I was going to say, if you get a bit of a head fog, you'll kind of run up to them and go, hang on a minute, did it? Okay, cool. And so that is like gold dust, really. But you really should be doing your homework anyway to sort of know where you are in your head as that character.
Because it will completely change the way you intonate a line, really. You know, depending on where your storyline is.
I guess it's that, like we were saying earlier, about that adaptability from, you know, going to different sets, working with different directors, especially like you said, with working from a stage to a screen. That adaptability and that, you know, having to change how you work is massive between the two, I guess.
I remember I was on tour with Blood Brothers again. I did it for years, and then I got a really good TV series, and Bill Kenwright, bless him, said, no, you've got to go and do it, we'll cover for you. And it was really sweet of him, thank God. And he was dead sweet, because I was still under contract, but he went, no, this is good, go, but as long as you come back. So I was in this big musical, everything was really big, and because of massive stages we were playing, and then all of a sudden it had to be really small, and it took me ages. I was like, oh my God, I'm totally overacting here. Because literally one day I was, you know, on a big stage, and the next it was like, you know, a shot like that, and I had to really think, just pull it all back, so it's believable. That was quite difficult, actually. It took me ages. It must have been rubbish for the first 2 days or something. But
the thing is when it's you know, when it's this, do you know what I mean? You've got so little to do, and yet so much to do. You know, there are so many nuances, you know, in the tiniest of looks that you know, you really need to be able to adapt.
Well, funnily enough, you know, because obviously we're on lockdown now, and we have been doing, and we're also, you know, building up with my school, Little Big Theatre. We're doing, you know, distance lockdown lessons, basically. That's what I'm calling them. And that will be their biggest challenge for my school, is they've never really done much sort of, you know, close work. So it's going to be great for them to focus on being really tiny, internalising monologue instead of, you know, being big and throwing your voice and stuff to be heard, and, you know, enunciation and things like that. It's going to be great for them because all of a sudden they're going to be learning a completely different sort of discipline, which has been forced upon us, but it's you know, adapting, isn't it? It's adapting to.
It's interesting, actually, yeah, because I've often thought about doing more TV work and more film work in class, but it's so difficult because essentially you're still really just doing sort of, it can be incredibly boring if you're not doing stuff, which again, for a class, it becomes really difficult that. People start to turn off because, I mean, you know, that's another thing that you have to fight when you're filming, is the boredom, because there is so much more boredom when you're doing filming than when you're doing theatre. Theatre is, you're constantly up, you're constantly doing stuff, you're constantly a part of what's going on, or if not, you're learning your lines, do you know what I mean? Whereas TV, film, essentially you spend most of the time sitting in a box, you know, twiddling your thumbs.
I'll try and do an impression. So it gets to like 4 o'clock, but you've been in makeup and costume since 6, and you're like this. And then all of a sudden you go, go, and you go, oh my God. Okay. And then you kind of go, ugh. And then all of a sudden just be like really vibrant. It literally is that. Oh, okay.
Or really emotional, you know, suddenly you're in a moment of abject terror, or do you know what I mean? But all of that really small. Difficult.
I guess we'll move on to sort of next thing I wanted to talk about, really, which was early doors.
Oh, yeah.
So, early doors, Sue, you was in early doors. What was that like being on set? Because you watched them episodes back, and it just looks like so much fun filming it.
Yeah, it was a lot of. Yeah, that was a proper out of body experience for me. And I don't think I've ever felt that since or after. Since or after? Does that make sense? Because I was a huge fan of Series 1, like I was totally into it. It was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I couldn't believe I got the gig. I seriously couldn't believe I got it. I was still pinching myself. But the first day on set, I sort of sat there and the camera was behind me and they played the intro music. And I suddenly started to get this weird panic attack. I was going, it was a good job it was the back of my head, because I was just going, oh, no, this is real. It was really weird. Once that I was over, it was great, but it was proper out of body. I thought, I can't believe this. And it was great. It was just like being in a room with your mates from 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. That was it. It was just a joy. It was just lots of fun on set. But Craig directed it. So he was jumping in and out and just being funny. I mean, just generous, kind, really encouraging as well, and just dead chilled out. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he managed to do all that he did, him and Phil. Because actually Phil then started to direct. I think he directed a couple of my scenes. I kind of remember, because we were just laughing at the fact that my characters had big knockers, and I don't in real life. So he had to be. It was really embarrassing. He went, can we have costume? He said, is there any way that we can actually make a knockers look a bit bigger? Because it was just silly little things like that where I was like, yeah, go for it. So, you know, I had these huge bazookas, which, you know, I quite enjoyed. It was great. I don't know what else to say about it other than it was an out-of-body experience, and I loved every single minute of it. And it was just great watching the other characters as well, because the way Craig liked to think of it, and it was an ensemble piece. So whether you were in the scene or not, we were all there every day, whether we were in things or not. I mean, the majority of the time, because it was an ensemble thing, so we were all made to feel very much a part of it. So yes, I keep going on, but
no, it's really interesting to hear, actually. Was that I always wonder what it would be like working with Craig and Phil, because they are very, very talented at what they do, and it's
Yes.
It's hard. I mean, when you watch Royal Family as well, you know, when you watch shows like that, it's I don't really like using this word, but it's very relatable, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what the boys did was made the actors just feel so relaxed. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure in the background there must have been all sorts of, you know, stress going on and mayhem. And you do see that sometimes on set, and it can affect the actors. But with these boys, they just were like, you know, at home, you're in your local pub, you know, up to the point where we realised that you couldn't cheat Guinness. You can cheat other drinks with different colourings and stuff like that, and somebody twigged. And then I think just towards the very end, everyone was drinking Guinness because you couldn't cheat it. I was like, oh yeah, my character drank Guinness. So we'd be there with half a pint of Guinness. It was only on, I think it was only on the very last day. It was like, whoa, you know. I don't know, I can't say anything other than it was like a joy. It was just like not work. It didn't feel like work at all. It just felt like you were just meeting up with your mates for a jolly good laugh, really. So, yeah, that's probably one of my favourite jobs. There you go. One of my favourite jobs. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, yes, shut up now.
Brilliant. So I guess we've talked a lot about sort of work on screen. I guess it'd be nice to move on to work on stage, because as well as all the stuff you've done on the telly, films, etc., you've both done a lot of work on stage. I mean, to start with Will, I mean, Oldham Coliseum, Home, obviously. The one that I really wanted to talk about was Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, for those who don't know, was a really, really sort of challenging piece. How was that? I mean, without being rude, what was it like doing that now? I know it sounds horrible saying this. What was it like doing this now? You know, not an older age, but an adult age.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you're referring to.
I do.
Expand a little bit.
What was it like using the free bus pass to get to rehearsals? No, of course. I mean, when I say that, I mean, you know, I know some of the actors in that cast were you know, a bit younger. You know, compared to them, how was it? You know, how would you have been in that cast so many years ago? So many years ago. Not so many years ago.
In your grave, mate. I'm not that old, you know.
Seems a long time ago since that 50th.
50 is the new 30, mate. 50 is the new 30. Yeah, it was an amazing piece. It was an amazing piece to be involved in. It was an amazing piece to be involved in. Certainly, probably, I certainly up to this point, I'd say it's, as a play, the most important play I've kind of ever, you know, I've ever been involved with. Certainly from the point of view of what it means politically and what it entails and its message. But also from the point of view of incredibly difficult as an actor as well. You know, for the people who saw it, will know what I'm referring to when I say, you know, the shower scene was particularly difficult. You know,
I love that scene. Favorite scene.
But certainly to be, you know, not, and I don't want to get juvenile about it, but to be naked on stage is actually really very daunting, and it was dealt with in a really sensitive way, but it was scary. Of course, it was scary.
Yeah.
You know, taking your clothes off, you know, in front of hundreds and hundreds of people is a really scary thing to do, and took a lot of confidence to do so. But I mean, there were other challenges for me within that as well. I mean, you know, the singing and the dancing as well, which I kind of wasn't expecting when we were doing a play about the miners' strike. wasn't really expecting to be doing loads of singing and dancing in that. But it fit so well, and it was done so well. And I'm probably, people are probably sitting there if they, if they don't know the play, kind of going, what? It's called Wonderland. It was about the miners' strike. Nakedness and singing and dancing. It probably doesn't make sense as we explain it now. But for those people who saw it, it will kind of go, oh yeah, no, it totally made sense, and it was really relevant and resonated such a lot through the time, considering that it was set in 1984. It's bizarre how relevant it still is, isn't it, really?
Oh, absolutely. God, it was such a good play. I mean, I went to see it a handful of times, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I was totally into it. It was such a good piece. Did you see it, Joe?
No, I never got a chance to see it.
Oh,
God, you know what, though? I have watched, I don't know if you know this.
Yes, the other one.
Yeah. So
the one before us.
Excellent.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing piece, isn't it? And it is. It's sort of really strikingly good, isn't it? Strikingly good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey! But for me, I mean, obviously I was playing the older character in it, so do you know what I mean? I was the right age for the character I was playing, so it wasn't.
Of course.
I didn't feel like as if I was sort of like kind of playing younger than me or anything like that. It was entirely within keeping, and it's such a joy of a piece to do as well. And I also got to learn the Nottingham accent, which is not an accent that you generally come across.
It is, because when I was listening to it, it is an interesting one, isn't it? That one.
It's a very strange accent. There's kind of bits of everything in there. There's bits of Yorkshire in there. There's bits of Lancashire in there. There's bits of Cockney in there. There's bits of Birmingham in there. It's kind of an amalgamation of all those four sort of like accents, but in such a strange way as well. Because it's not even as if that kind of follows through. It's almost literally you'll take a word from a Lancashire sentence, and then you'll take a word from a Yorkshire sentence, and then you'll take a word from Cockney, and then you'll take a word from Birmingham, and you'll kind of put them together, and you kind of get this weird sort of.
Yeah, it's a strange dialect. It's a lovely dialect.
It is beautiful, but
really.
But sort of a real combination of all these sort of influences, and that was a joy to do as well.
You mentioned a little earlier then about having a real sort of connection to it, to really feeling how important that play was. Do you find it easier where you already have a connection to the play when you're going into rehearsals when you're first starting, or how do you find it whereas a play that you don't really necessarily know or have any connection to? I
personally, for me, well, for instance, I mean, we did Richard III last year, and obviously we've no connection to that. There's no, there's nothing that can sort of connect us into Shakespearean language. So for me, that's actually the joy of it. It's attacking something and sort of creating something from a period of which we know very little about.
It's a good question, though.
It's
a really good question. Again, that's two.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the internet's rubbish, but I have good questions, eh?
Yeah, chatty you,
the Wi-Fi's crap.
Yeah. I got cracking questions. Do you know what I think? And it's something I learned later on in life, which I wish I'd have thought of it when I was a bit younger. It's all plays is about the human condition, really, isn't it? As long as you can connect to that character and whatever that character's going through, I think if you're true to that, then the rest kind of follows through as a gotta sound like holistically. It kind of then just happens.
I think it comes back again to the bravery thing again, doesn't it? Because again, in the rehearsal room, which again is where all the magic really happens, that's when you can discover things. Do you know what I mean? And by the more brave you are, the more sort of the more accepting of everything that's going on around.
No, I was just going to say that when I played Princess So Shy in Aladdin, I mean, I really connected. you know, for the
But a
character.
perfect example of that would be
God.
Play Moley. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's true. Sorry, I was just being stupid.
When we did Wind in the Willows with Sue played Moley, and and I remember the very first audition where she sort of came out from under the curtain, and again it was just the bravery to do that, and it sounds like as if that's nothing, but it's not, because if you're in an audition situation, if you like, to actually sort of decide to enter from under a curtain, sometimes it's you're going to be going, is this going to look ridiculous?
Am I looking like an absolute turd? Talking of Richard the Turd, I am one. Yeah.
But it's that bravery to go ahead and do it, isn't it? And it's that again you then bring to it's. I mean, we often talk about it in class as well, don't we? It's making offers.
Yeah.
You can't direct a play if nobody's making an offer.
That's true.
If nobody's making an offer, there's nothing to direct. What am I directing? Am I directing you to learn your lines? Well, no. We're directing. It's exactly. That's not my job. My job is to direct what's going on. Do you know what I mean? And the action, because again, I'm always repeating these words as well. Acting is about action. That's why they don't call it talking. They call it action.
I think, Joe, as well, these days, we do sound really old now, but, like 20 years ago, if you did get a part, you'd kind of have 2 weeks at least to think about it, get the script, blah, 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 do the billions of auditions you have to do to actually get the part in the first place, because it's quite brutal sometimes. These days, it's so quick in comparison to how it used to be. So, for example, when I started to do Hetty Feather, I literally did the audition, got the phone call the next day, and then sort of the day after or the day after that, I was literally in the read-through, and I was like, I don't know who this character is. I've got to make a decision, and I've got to make it now, because I've got to follow it through for however long. And you've got to be really brave and go, am I doing? Okay, just do it. Just do it. And then...
But also trust the fact that during the creative process, you will come to the right conclusions. Even if because again, I remember doing Where the Heart Is on the very first time I walked on set, and didn't all it was 2 lines. I only had 2 lines, and that was, as far as I was concerned, that was that. I wasn't going to be in 6 series from that point. All I was there for was those 2 lines, and I remember just kind of going, sod it. I'll offer the director something, and I did, and the director went, oh yeah, really like that. That's good. Yeah, we'll do that. Other times, then you'll kind of go, oh no, I've got this offer, and they'll go, no, I don't like that. Don't feel like that's like any sort of, dismissing of you as an actor or your creativity. It's just that won't work for that particular thing. And don't take that away as if, oh my God, I'm rubbish. I'm terrible. They turned down my offer, and therefore then I am crushed. You can't, it doesn't work like that. The offers are given all the time, and some of them will be rejected, and that's fine. But keep giving the offer.
I always think that not all actors, of course, but there's quite a few actors that might think all the director wants, they've got their vision in their head, and that's how they're going to have it. But for me personally, I haven't met a single director that's ever thought that.
No, because they don't exist. I've worked with hundreds of directors. The only chance you're going to find that is in TV. You're not going to find that in theatre. Yeah. At all. But in TV, you might find it. But that's not because they've got their own vision as such. It's just that they are restricted by people above them. Yeah. Who are saying, no, that's the slot. That's how much you've got to fill, and that's how we want it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. There's sort of different hierarchies, and then it can get complicated. But I think if you do make an offer, and it's not the right offer, then a good director will sit down and discuss it with you and go, right, where do you think we're going with this? Blah blah blah. And it's like, oh right, okay. And a clash of minds and ideas, and then you can sort of go for it in a way.
You mentioned earlier that it sometimes used to be the case where you'd have a couple of weeks where you can just sort of, say, right, I'm doing this job, get yourself prepared, and in other cases it's I'm there the next day. Which do you have a preference at all?
Oh, personally, my first TV job, we had 2 weeks rehearsal at, the old BBC. And we just had a room and we'd marked stuff out, and we'd walk through all the scenes. Because God, I sound old again, but back in the day, the scenes used to be, honestly, Joe, stop it. Making me laugh. Right.
She's the old one, not me.
I didn't say anything.
I don't know the 23's old, darling. I really don't think 23's old. No, right. So back in the day, the scenes were a lot longer, and we've noticed that they're getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But this particular sitcom that we did, I think, God, some of the scenes were like 10 minutes long, and they were really wordy, very verbose. It was written by a brilliant writer called Tim Firth, who's now, oh my God, he's so brilliant, so famous, but he was like a 21-year-old lad then when he wrote this thing. But it was brilliant, and it was really verbose. So we literally got like 2 weeks just to, chat about it, learn our lines, go through it. It was so much better because you could kind of make mistakes, learn about your character. By the time you're on set, it was almost like doing theatre in a way. You kind of knew it, and you knew, because continuity is another thing that is, if you've got a busy scene, you really do have to remember when you pick your cup up and say, I don't know, do you fancy some peas for tea tonight? And then you've got to do it again, exactly the same and exactly the same. And that is really difficult. And to make it look believable is a proper challenge. It is for me anyway. Anyway, sorry. I keep going off.
It's great. No, it's great. It's so like insightful to hear as well. So it's brilliant. Talking of insightful, obviously, you've done screen, you've done TV, you've done film, all that sort of stuff. What made you, and as well, obviously, you run an acting class, you both do. What made you then want to take that next step to running a theatre company?
It was more Will than I've got to take credit for Will. No, because
I'm going to take credit for Will. That's where right.
Oh yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah. He's got to take credit for me.
Yeah. Will, be quiet for a second, will you, please?
Yeah. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's all about me, Dad. It's all about me. No, I've got to give Will the credit. It was your idea, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
And you wanted to do something that you believed in and wanted to create, basically.
I mean, it came about through Monopolised, basically. It was Monopolised that inspired me to, and even before that, On Borrowed Time, I was already thinking at that point, I want to start, the plays that I've written, I want to start sort of taking them out and putting them on a bigger stage, if you like, putting them in front of people who aren't, partisan, who aren't, just friends and family of members of the class. So yeah, it would have been Monopolised that inspired it.
Yeah.
But also because there's an element of our business whereby we wait a lot, and sometimes you just get sick of waiting, and you kind of go, well, why don't I just go out and do something, do my own thing, and sort of, and it's actually more rewarding doing that as well, because you're then involved in the whole creative process, right from the blank page, all the way to, interesting enough, coming back full circle to what we were talking about, an audience's experience, your experience becomes even, the longest it could possibly be, right from looking at that blank page to shutting the doors on the last show. And that's quite a feeling. It's quite a journey.
I think it's really brave. I do, I think it's brave. Because, Joey, this is what you've sort of started to do now yourself.
Yeah. What inspired you?
I don't know. I didn't think of answering the questions. I don't know you guys.
I would like to know.
I think it's telling stories that I'd want to see, I'd want to hear, because you know, sometimes I'll go watching a show and I'll think that was interesting, but that didn't appeal to me. You know, that wasn't a story that I'd want to tell. And when I think that there's stories out there that aren't being told, and I think I can do it, then I guess that's the perfect reason to, you know, to start.
And that is, you've hit the nail on the head as well. It's telling stories that talk to you, isn't it? And that, and hearing those stories, because there's so many stories that are indeed. I mean, certainly stuck in lockdown right now. I mean, it's worth mentioning that some of the TV is just so bloody awful. I mean, it's just dreadful. It's just, I'm desperately looking through for something interesting to watch, and I'm kind of going, there's just nothing. There's just.
I mean,
nothing.
I suppose there is actually.
No, there is, but it
because
feels
we're in
like,
lockdown, it feels. I don't know. Everything's condensed, isn't it? Everything feels.
I mean, we watched that Suburbicon last night. It's very good.
Oh, Matt Damon.
George Clooney directed it. Really good. But at the same time, it still didn't necessarily talk to me as such. But I could appreciate it as an interesting piece. I could, because again, it felt very much like a cross between The Truman Show meets, I don't know, some weird horror, some, you know, misery or something like that. So it felt a little bit like that, but it didn't really talk to us. So I do understand what you mean, because it's from a different continent. Do you know what I mean? Hence the reason why I probably always preferred British stuff. But obviously there's such a, you know, there's so little that we get to see now. Killing Eve's all right, but
I enjoy it.
Killing Eve's pretty good. But other than that, I'm trying to think what else there is that we've been watching recently.
I've been watching White Lines.
On Netflix. Is it good?
Is it good?
But I mean, I'm
really
bad for watching stuff and sort of picking out little things that just wouldn't happen. So, for example, the girl, the main actress in it, she's in Spain. Well, Ibiza for like 8 weeks or something like that, a really long time. Yet for some reason, all she's got is this little like rucksack, and it change everything. Yeah, like I'm just wondering, Mary Poppins bag on her shoulder. Like,
but she's not going to tell him that.
Exactly.
I'd tell you what I have been watching. Talking about Spain, is that Money Heist.
Well, it's the same director as that. It's the same writer. Yeah.
It is. I mean, that's. But again, I know what you mean. There's certain. But
inconsistencies
that often gets lost. It's not necessarily down to the writing. That sometimes can be lost in so many different departments before it kind of reaches your eye, if you like. And even sort of idiosyncrasies within the writing. Sometimes the writer will get blamed for something that they kind of wrote a full scene in that actually it's meant to connect and it's meant to sort of like make sense. But as script editors and various other people get hold of these things, you know, they can be lost along the way.
What was sort of going back to like saying stories that we'd like to hear? What made you write Monopolize?
Well, to be honest with you, it was a combination of many things. Sue's mad on conspiracy theories and
I like to listen to them.
Certainly,
by proxy, he has to listen to them as well.
The amount of times I've been sat in your house and Sue's telling a story, and we have a glass of wine, going, "Listen, I know for a fact aliens exist," and just see Will sort of going, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Really pleased,
Will's going.
Hey, well, no. I mean, during lockdown, NASA have released a load of videos with a plane that was big flying saucer. Have a look, Joe. Have a look.
I'll be right on it. The minute this is over.
I'll be right on it. Yeah.
But for me, it was then. It was more to do with as well. We'd just come out of the crash, the financial crash, and a lot of it was aimed at the banks. A lot of it was aimed at sort of like trying to highlight the collapse of the financial system, and I felt that was the way I chose the game Monopoly, if you like, to set it around. And then the idea of them being avatars of the the pieces on the board all just started to come together. A lot of work was done in class, if you remember. We did a lot of sort of toing and froing on looking at different ways we could sort of like bring the story around, and so again it was a collaborative process between all of those minds, really, whether it was us guys in class, or whether it was Sue and I, or whether it was just me sat in front of the computer just letting it come out. The only thing I was gutted about with Monopolize particularly was that the fact that I never got to direct it in the end. That was
cool. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because I was doing Ghosts.
Yeah.
At home.
And I guess speaking of juggling stuff, what because I know you both directed, both written, both acted, all that sort of stuff with having a theatre company, and we'll go on to this in a second, running an actual theatre.
Yeah.
Which part of the job would you say you enjoy the most? Which part of the job do you find the easiest? Which part of the job do you sort of not avoid, but think, oh right, I'm gonna have to get on with this, aren't I?
Oh, it's a really good question again. Which bit? You mean the acting bit or the actual running of the?
All
just
of it.
generally, acting, directing, writing, producing.
Oh, do you know what? I think if you stay still and think about it, you crumble. So I think it's just a case of literally just going for it and doing it. And there's all obviously things that you don't like doing. Any job, it entails things that you don't particularly enjoy doing. I'm terrible at admin. Me sat in front of a computer trying to do admin. I just said to Will and Elise, I seriously, honestly, cross my heart and hope tonight, I'll ruin your company if you try and put me in front of a computer. So, I mean, yeah, I have a handicap with that, definitely. So that is something, if I had to do, I would be going, oh my Lord, I would struggle big time. I find it incredibly boring, really boring. I just want to be up and doing things, baby. Nice things, meeting people. We've met so many lovely people since Stolen Thread sort of opened. I just completely love people, and
you've done so many amazing projects.
I think inviting people in and having a chat and just making them feel as welcome as they possibly can, so they're comfortable. If they're comfortable, we're comfortable. And then the feedback afterwards got, oh my God, we really enjoyed it. And it's that really, that's the aspect that I think I enjoy the best. And same with acting as well, same with teaching. You meet so many amazing people in sometimes the most ordinary situations as well. It could be that you get in a train to, say, going to film in London or in Kent or wherever it is. This did happen to me, actually. And I was late. Never been late in my life, and I was mortified. So I got off the train, and I've been speaking to this amazing woman, and we were really having a laugh. And then she was like, "You're so late," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm really late." And she was of an age, okay, no, and she actually took me to the.
Was she 24?
She took me to the track. Yeah, she was 24. She took me to the taxi rank, and I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." I said, "I'm really, really ignorant. Can I ask your name?" And she went, "It's Rulalenska, darling." So Rulalenska is incredibly famous. I didn't have a clue. Yeah, that's what I love. It's just randomly meeting people and connecting, and it's that. Now, if I wouldn't have been an actor, there's no way I would have been going to London to do whatever. I just, so that's a really good example of just meeting amazing people. That was just stupid, that one. I was like, oh my God, Sue, you're such a fool for not realising. I knew who she was from somewhere, but I was too embarrassed to ask. And I thought, no, you're just a really gorgeous looking older lady. And you obviously, I don't. Go on, Will.
I'm not sure how that answered the question.
It didn't, did it? I keep going.
I'll be honest with you, I forgot what the question was.
I'm so sorry.
I'll try and if I could recap on what for me it was it the idea that basically from writing, acting, directing, producing, which of those, if
Nothing
you like,
much to be talked about.
which of those in order are sort of like our top 5, if you like?
Yeah, why not? That's a nice way of doing
I'll
it.
try to do it like that then. I suppose acting, I think, is still number 1, closely followed by directing, then writing. I don't really like producing, I must admit. Producing doesn't really do it for me. But I suppose that would be the order I'd go for. That's directing, though, I do really like directing. Though they're almost equal. Directing is something that I, with the acting. Again, it's working with people. It's creating, and writing is such a lonely thing to do.
Yeah.
I know. I'm making cups of tea when he's writing in his man cave.
Yeah.
Is this the right time for a cup of tea?
I haven't been inspired to write for such a long time now, I must admit. It's been
exciting.
That was a really weird thing as well, because obviously we're a couple and we're both actors, that's when we met and stuff like that. But then when we opened the production company and it was like, oh right, do you want to audition? Because I auditioned like everyone else, and I thought, what it's going to be like? It's going to be a right gig. And do you know what? And I'm seriously, hand on heart, what a great person to work with. Even though we're together, and I know it can be, hard sometimes, but I genuinely, I'm not saying this just because we're on camera, okay? Are my teeth straight? No, seriously, it's such a joy to be, as a director, you're great to work with. And I sometimes forget that, you actually are my partner. It's really weird.
Well, mutual admiration, you two are both able to direct, so,
We like working, we all like working together, don't we? Nice. It's nice. We always have a good laugh, don't we?
We always have a giggle.
We always have a giggle person.
That's interesting. I was actually going to sort of speak about that in a second. What is it like working with each other? Because obviously you've worked to the point where it's Will directing Sue, or elsewhere as well, like Blind Date. Wind in the Willows, where you're acting together. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's not that unusual to us, because essentially, bear in mind that when we kind of got together, we met on The Accused, which is a TV programme that was written by Jimmy McGovern. Brilliant piece. And there were sort of like several different stories. It was one of those, and we were in one with Anne-Marie Duff and Olivia Colman about. It
was like gun crime, really.
Was it gun crime or knife crime?
Yeah. Somebody getting caught in the crossfire. It was actually great.
It's a really good piece. Well worth the watch as well. Well worth the watch if you can get it on, YouTube, Google. I don't know. However you can get all of it. But bearing in mind that even before that, we'd met professionally. Before that, we'd actually met years before that, and we'd actually completely forgotten about it. We used to do ADR work together. Now ADR is audio dubbing recording, or additional dubbing recording. There's all sorts of different names.
Basically, it's like loads of actors with headcams on, and you're having to lip sync people.
Yeah.
Sort of like
you're recording
to get it clean.
Background noise, essentially.
And sometimes, and there was this one particular time, which was when we started to remember each other. Is the director went, okay, can we have Sue and Will? We didn't know each other. I had my cans on, you had your cans on. It's like, okay, so watch it through a couple of times and then start lip syncing. Okay, so when you see that person, and then add your own little bits in. This director was lovely.
Well, because it's in the background, you're not actually going to hear them. They're just literally background noise.
But you came out with this brilliant one-liner, right? That was improvised. It was so inappropriate.
It's so inappropriate.
It was really inappropriate. That was me and him on the floor crying our eyes out, going, "I can't carry on."
It was a little bit of mortuary humour, if you like.
Yes.
We were doing the Myra Hindley series.
Christ.
And there was these coppers, but we weren't. We were the coppers looking for sort of looking across the moors, which again, and I really want to make it very clear, we're not in any way, we're not being disrespectful. It was just, our job was to just fill in
and improvise.
And I did come up with
it was anyway
highly inappropriate.
It was highly inappropriate, but it wasn't meant. It wasn't meant in a horrible way.
Yeah, of course.
It was meant. Okay, so in the olden days, when they had to dig for bodies, what they had to do is get long sticks and in a line, and then dig into the thing, and then smell to see if they could smell anything. And that's how they, in those days, do it. And so on the moors, there was lots of sheep dotted around, and we were sort of improvising. And he came
my
out
copper said,
with,
it's put me right off my lamb chops.
right. And that was it. So it wasn't that inappropriate. It's just that.
But it's clever.
I'm on the floor in stitches going, why did you do that?
It's just, but I honestly meant it as something he would literally say.
Yeah.
But obviously once I'd said it, it did make me, I made myself laugh as I thought it. Cause I thought, it's just ridiculous.
That's so stupid. And of course I'm a giggler. So then after that, 10 years later, we kind of meet again.
We worked on The Accused, and therefore then, so we've worked together an awful lot, even before we got together, if you like, and therefore then when we did get together, we were working together at that time. And then, I don't know, we did I suppose the first thing we did together, as in out of that, being under somebody else's control, would have been Blind Date. And we just
just worked really well together. Kind of going back to the very beginning, saying that it's great working with generous actors, because you can get some actors who really, there's nothing behind the eyes and it's all very much about them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very rare, but working with a generous actor, because Will is incredibly generous as an actor, it just makes the job incredibly easy. And obviously we've got a chemistry together. I think with Blind Date, the thing that we struggled with is because we know each other so well, and the fact that the two characters are socially awkward, and that was the biggest hurdle of like playing as though we'd never seen each other before. That was actually quite difficult. The awkwardness and how it is when you very first meet somebody. We obviously I found that quite difficult, because our note from Alice was, you're too familiar, you're too comfortable, you've got to be more awkward to play the truth, basically. So that was probably the most difficult bit. Really.
Although, for me, no, I think directing Winning the Willows was the prospect of it, not the actual directing of it. It was more the build-up to it, because I was kind of thinking, oh God, how's this going to go? How's it going to work out? Me directing and you being on,
it was all right, wasn't it?
It was absolutely fine, and as it turned out, we had no problems at all. But the worry of that was, I think, probably the most difficult, because I was kind of going, just like you were. You were kind of going, oh my God, what's it going to be like?
No, but I suppose I've always been kind of self-taught, really, in that respect, that I started quite young and, got egg on my face a little bit, is always trust the director, always go with what the director wants, because obviously, give, but if the director says something, that they've got the outer vision that I can't see, so I have to trust that person to say, no, trust me, might feel a bit weird, but it'll really work. And then I think it's just about trust, and I do trust your judgment, and it just all seemed to, I don't know, fall into place. No?
Yeah. Definitely.
Very good.
I just, the last couple of bits now, really. One thing I did really want to ask is, obviously, you've both been doing this for some time now, and what is that one lesson that you'd give to an actor? What is that one piece of advice you'd give, if you could just pick one? I know it's a really hard question.
God, it's really hard. What one? If you don't love it, don't do it.
Brilliant.
That's it. Okay, go on.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, because the fame thing. Yeah, if you're doing it for fame, then don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother.
I suppose mine would. It's so difficult. Keep making offers. Be brave. I suppose repetition of that.
Amazing.
Such a difficult one.
That's
Such a difficult
really
question
good
to answer
as
that.
well. And three.
Because there's
Joseph,
so
now.
so many things. There's so many things to say, to fill in that.
I don't know, someone was talking the other day, and I can't remember who it was because my brain's gone completely with the lockdown. You spend the majority of your life working, okay?
Unless you're an actor.
Unless you're an actor.
Unless you don't.
It's lockdown 24/7.
I'll try it again, okay? Somebody said, right, you spend a lot of your time working. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. There's no point. There is no point.
Yeah.
Well, part of being an actor, and going back to basically what you were saying, is the art is being out of work. Is it? The art is actually being out of work and surviving it, and that is an art within itself. Just as important as actually getting the job and doing it, even if it's a day's filming or a week or a year. The art that is difficult, and I'm not going to lie to people. You sometimes sail through it and go, actually, it's not affecting me. And then sometimes, just like life throws at you, it's like, oh my God, this is hard. This is really difficult. And it is a roller coaster, I guess. But I suppose life is a roller coaster in that respect. You're at different places in your life, and sometimes that being out of work can affect you a whole lot more than, say, if you were in a better place, or I don't know, a financially more blossoming place in your life. It all depends, but that's tough, really, really, really difficult. And I think another thing that I wished I told my 20-year-old self, now I'm obviously only 23, but it's only 3 years, darling, is, don't be afraid to bleeding talk to people about it, because I wished I had and I didn't. I was a massive brick wall, and it's only recently in the last a massive brick wall, and it's only recently that I've actually started to talk to people, fellow actors, and go, I'm feeling crap. I'm just feeling really shaky at the minute. And you know what? They'll go, God, so am I. And you think, oh my God, I thought that you would be. And I just think it's dead important to kind of open up and go, do you know what? Not feeling it today. It's a bit of a struggle, and I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done that without bloody. Sometimes, I don't know. Not hurting yourself, but you put yourself through it, and it's unnecessary to put yourself through it because you think stupidly that you're the only one feeling that emotion, and you're not. Of course, you're not. But at that age, I don't know, I just didn't register, or I didn't want to bother people, or I didn't want them thinking that I wasn't strong, and the funny one, the bouncy one, all that kind of thing that you do get labelled at. It's like, actually, I'm having a bit of a crap time at the minute. Is that all right? Is it okay to talk about it? And it's like, yeah, go on. And there you go, problem shared.
There's a problem
solved. Go on.
I think to sustain in this career is without a doubt the most difficult thing to do. A lot, you see a lot of young actors fall by the wayside. They get a job and they expect that then to just continue and continue, and they, they'll rise through the ranks, and before they know it, they'll be in Hollywood. It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, it does in some cases, because we see it all the time.
But it's not the norm. Do you know what I mean? That's Sue or I could actually indeed, before we know it, just suddenly jump over to Hollywood. But it is sudden. It kind of comes out of nowhere.
I don't have time to have a facelift.
Actually,
what am I going to do?
It doesn't actually follow that you will kind of go through a steady procession of jobs, building to a finale. It doesn't work like a story works.
Yeah.
It works far more frenetically, and it works far more, and it doesn't care about you. That's the point. The industry doesn't care about the individual at all. It's not interested. It doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care about your.
Am I okay to just
your
1 minute off? Cheers, mate.
Your consideration. It doesn't. It's not bothered. It's only bothered about creation. That's all it's bothered about, and it's the way it should be.
I find it really interesting that there's a lot, a lot of jobs, regular jobs that it's a steady progression. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I start off at the bottom and I work my way up.
Yeah.
Acting, and not just acting, directing, writing, the lot.
Yeah.
You could be working on the biggest project of your life. Then next thing you've got one line in something.
Absolutely. Or you could be just out of work for 4 years.
Yeah. And it's just dealing with that, isn't it, I think?
Exactly. And that's what I mean about sustaining in this profession is actually the most difficult thing to do. That is the pinnacle of your ability. It's almost reflected in your ability to be able to go with the flow on that, roll with the blows. Yeah. Because there will be lots of them. You are going to get rejected. You are going to get hurt at times, but at other times you're going to be so high that you're going to be flying in the clouds. But that is what it is. And
I guess in them times where, like you say, you're not working, you're doing them little bits and bobs. It's create your own work, like Stolen
exactly.
Like that. That's the whole purpose of it, isn't it? And there was, I got given.
Stop thinking that somebody out there is looking for you.
Yeah.
Because they're not. They're not looking for you at all. They might stumble across you and they might find you and go, "Oh, brilliant! You're just what I was looking for." However, the chances of that are much slimmer if you don't do anything.
It's that sort of sit back and relax mentality of sort of, I'll just wait here and it'll be
Yeah. And we're all guilty of it. Every single one of us sort of do the, I'm sick of my agent. You know what I mean? They're not giving me anything. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily just down to your agent, but we're all guilty of it. We all do it. We all kind of go, I've had nothing. My agent, I'm gonna sack him off. I'm gonna move on. Which, to some extent, yes, we're all responsible for it, if you like. But don't let go of your responsibility of it. In other words,
there's always
being creative,
doing better.
Exactly.
There's always
keep being creative.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keep making stuff, because it's also by making stuff, it's how you're going to get better, and therefore, then if you get better, then the more chance of being seen.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, like just even if you're creating a showcase, you're putting yourself out there.
Absolutely.
You never know who's going to come. Somebody might come and might say, "Oh, actually, I watched this person. Have a look at these guys." It's just it's working, isn't it? It's connecting and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And doing stuff for free, because we all we all sort of like, certainly in younger career. Not so much obviously when you get to our age. We're kind of a bit past all that, but and that doesn't mean to say that we don't, because we do. But we're very picky and choosy about what we do. But the younger you are, just keep doing as much as you can possibly do.
Getting yourself out there.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've only got to gain from it. Just get out there and keep putting yourself in the shop window. You never know who you might meet.
I found it
again. This is the profession of not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah. I found it really interesting that I had this discussion. I'm not going to name names, obviously. I had this discussion with somebody that was very similar, and they said that, and similar age to me. And they said they'll never take, work that I'm doing for free. They'll never do showcase stuff like that. And I asked why, and they said, "Well, it looks rubbish on my Spotlight CV."
What? As opposed to nothing at all. Looks great on your Spotlight when you've got it empty 3 years. So your last year was in 2017. So what have you been doing since? Nothing.
Just waiting for the next one.
Just waiting.
Actually,
that looks great on your Spotlight.
But actually, the original, and still are, thank God, original JB Shorts team, all the writers and the core team. What a great idea was giving the opportunity for older and indeed you know, it's definitely, as it's gone through the years, younger actors a platform to sort of showcase themselves. And, you know, apparently, you know, there's been lots of sort of big TV names that really wanted to do. It was like, can I, you know, but the work that they were doing at the time wouldn't allow them, you know, but there was that need for them to go, oh, it'd be great to get back onto stage and do some really interesting work, because it's quite freeing, really, because kind of with TV, you're quite restricted sometimes with the content that you can actually sort of put out there, whereas with JB Shorts, you know, not anything goes, but, you know, you can explore different ideas and different, I don't know, I'm trying to, different genres that you wouldn't necessarily find. And that's what we do try and say to our students, you know, if you can jump on something like that, it's gold dust.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, JB Shorts actually, again, I think opened so many doors for me. Without it, I don't think I would have done Corrie and stuff like that, bizarrely.
No, I don't think so.
Because it was putting myself back on the, you know, back on the shop window, basically.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been on stage for 15 years. And I desperately wanted to do, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, literally, because everything I'd done was telly, and I'd become known as a TV actor, and theatre just weren't even looking at me.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about this industry. I don't know if it's changed, Joe. I'm no expert, but you do really get pigeonholed. I know a lot of my friends who either just do theatre and can't break into TV. They are obviously, or vice versa. And I think in England, it's quite closed mindedness, whereas I believe in America it's a lot freer.
I think it's also up here as well. I think it's the mental game as well again.
Yeah,
it's part of it, because you kind of start telling yourself that that's what it is.
Yeah, I think,
and you're not willing to, because again,
I
suppose by going back and doing JB Shorts for nothing, which essentially was what we did, that was kind of opened up some doors for me in theatre, you know, in theatre land, which had kind of just completely, you know, pushed me to one side.
And I think that's why we decided that junior JB Shorts for our schools was a cracking idea. One, because it gave them an audience that wasn't just the parents, it was open to the public, and they, you know, the scrutiny that could be given, you know, it's honest opinions, isn't it? And giving these, you know, young, bright kids a chance to work, you know, with a script that was written by a guy who's written some amazing stuff, that's just done, you know, Corrie and EastEnders and you know, big dramas. It's their writing, and it's like, go for it. You know, if I had the opportunity at 12, 13, 14, 15, I would have, oh my God, I would have, you know,
it also gives them the opportunity to moan about their agents like we do, like we were talking about before. Because quite a few of them have got agents from it, and now they can complain about what their agents are not doing. So therefore then they can already adopt that already quite early on, that sort of like, my agent's rubbish. No,
but isn't that interesting that that's happened? And then, speaking of the likes of, you know, Adam, Flynn, Callum and Ben, who have now decided to create their own work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like yourself, Joe. I mean, I'm dead proud of you. I really am. You go in there. Yeah. No, you are. Oh, you're rubbish at compliments, aren't you? Take it.
I mean, there've been so many success stories, and it's well worth pointing that out as well. You know what I mean? You know, we look at Connor, we look at Paul Tomlin, we look at yourself, we look at Joe Slack, we look at Lana, we look at Flippin' Egg, going way back to Flippin' Egg. What was her name?
I wasn't there. Come on.
Oh.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Lizzie,
there you go.
Know, isn't it horrible when your brain does that to you? You know, there's so many.
Lizzie, you have to explain, is now producing.
Oh, yeah, Lizzie's a producer. She's producing for, I don't know who she's producing for at the moment. I think she's still down in London, I think.
She was at the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, I mean, she started off being an actor. This is what, this is what we do say to our students. It's not just about acting. You might start off being an actor, but then realise, oh my God, there's like billions and billions of opportunities all around the industry. One of the best directors I did work with, and I do love him. I will say his name, Paul Walker. I think I'm right in saying I think he started off acting when he was a young lad. Then he was a DOP, which is a director of photography, you know, big camera, and then now he's at the front directing. He's a wonderful director because I think he gets all the different aspects of it. It's really, really well rounded, and he's got empathy, I think, for, you know, all sides basically, which I think is dead important. I always say this: if we had the opportunity and the time and the money, it would be great if everyone could job swap for a day to see exactly what that person's facing. And I think it'd create a more empathetic industry. Because you go, oh my God, your job's really difficult.
I'll do what we do and do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, me trying to do sound like that. And then imagine the height of me, I'd get sacked. I'd be like that, I'm rubbish. To stand on a ladder. You know, the guys who do that and the girls who do that, I mean, the upper body strength and the stillness and the concentration, they're almost doing the dance with the actor. It's wonderful to watch. There's all sorts of different industries that people can go into. And it all starts off in a tiny little acting school. And it just sparks off that, I don't know, that love for the industry, really, which I think is dead important, really important. You've got to sound so, you know, so right on. They've got your.
Oh, I do have one more question actually, and you brought it up a little bit earlier on. It clicked in my head. You said about sort of performing JB shorts. You go from either not performing on stage for years, or maybe performing on bigger stages, and then you go to maybe, you know, Joshua Brooks, 53-2, King's Arms, them sort of theatres. Do you think that's a valuable lesson, sort of being thrown in front of a smaller audience and closer?
I think it's even scarier.
Yeah.
With a smaller audience, definitely. I'm not ashamed to say that the very first JB shorts I did vomit actually before I went on stage, because I was like, oh my God, they're literally at each side.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. Whereas if, say, you do a big number one tour, you can't really see the whites of their eyes, and there's a proper gap between you, and it just feels, I don't know, I feel safer on a big massive stage than I do on a tiny little platform like that. And I don't know why. I can't work it out. I don't know why. That's why I've got like so much respect for stand-up comedians.
Because they're literally right in your face. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because now, you know, when they moved to 53-2, I found that so much easier to perform on 53-2 than I did at Joshua Brooks.
I guess it's like, yeah,
they are literally.
Because you're literally sitting there and looking at it as if to go, shit.
Yeah.
You go, oh!
Like they're just going to be looking through the programme, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And they're probably not thinking that at all. It's just that actors tend to read things into things far too much. And you just
maybe they are, but then they're perfectly entitled to do that because they've paid the money, and if they weren't into it, if we weren't talking to them, as in if that story that we were part of wasn't talking to them, well, why shouldn't they just sit there going,
next one,
you know, don't come in along in 15 minutes, this one's rubbish.
Which I guess is the point of JB shots, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a peculiarity with it. But again, it's, I mean, it's hugely valid. Just as valid as, you know, playing in front of thousands of people, you know, that that it's just black, and therefore then, you know, you've got that perfect, lovely moment of, you know, thinking I'm alone here until you hear them. Do you know what I mean? Again, but it is so valid to be, because again, to play an intimate stage is really the closest thing you'll get to doing TV as well.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't need to be really big because you're literally right there with them. Because again, then completely the opposite to that is doing something like open air theatre, which essentially is a tiny stage, but it's a huge stage at the same time. Because you're not really going to get 1,000 people. Well, I mean, you do get 1,000 people, and I have played in front of 1,000 people in open air. But open air promenade is more difficult. I mean, the most I've ever played to in that was about 500, and the night, I think it nearly went on till midnight, because we're trying to move 500 people is a bit like trying to herd cats.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, it's a heck of a lot of people to move.
Yeah, and then you have everything else to deal with, like the weather, the people that aren't there for that.
Exactly.
I mean, Wind in the Willows, that biker.
Yeah. Wind in the Willows was just a joy, though.
And the swan that entered the scene and just all in this.
And the what was that in the rehearsal when that fella got out of his car?
Oh my God! We had loads.
That was bad.
We had loads.
What was?
Jeffin and Jeffin, he was saying, "You're a boo, boo, boo." I was like, I mean, I did look like an idiot, I've got to say, but I was like, no need for that, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We had loads of those, though, didn't we? We had loads. Yeah. But then that's the joy of open air theatre. You know? It's part of the attraction, because it's live. You know, and just last year, what about the guy who just wandered straight through the scene because he was going to the top?
Oh, yeah.
Walked straight through, and even sort of completely blanked me as I'm making him look like an idiot. Didn't even clock the fact that I'm kind of going, yeah, all right, mate, you're good, yeah.
I mean, it goes all the way back to Animal Farm.
Oh yes,
God, that was scary.
I was only a little kid then, and that was the most. Oh, yeah. That was the strangest thing that could ever happen. We were doing.
The guy walking in was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Joe, explain the scene then, because you were in it, weren't you?
So it was Animal Farm, and already I'm dressed as a horse, so it's.
I just need to look.
No, it's sort of stood on stage and sort of going. I've got my horse ears on now. This is where I am. There's hay bales all around you. When we did the show, it was part of Blown Away. So it was where we was at then, where the classes were, was at high school. So we do the show in the high school, like in the weekend when obviously the school wasn't open. Anyway, we're doing this show, and it's in their drama studio. We're doing this show, and this fella walks in, and I think the audience thought he must have been part of the show. Obviously, we knew he wasn't, because it was this grown adult. He just walked in and stood like right next to me. I'm there looking up at him, and he's looking around. He doesn't have a clue what is going on. He's watching completely. He has not walked into a show. He's walked into a load of adults watching kids dressed up as animals. And he's going, I want to be math teacher. I want to be math teacher. He's came to the school for a job, and instead of getting a job, he's walked into all these kids animals. And then they take him off like, come on, mate. He's like, I want to be math teacher. I want to be math teacher.
Oh, Joe, I was in the audience in that day. It was a Sunday, wasn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter what day it was. My heart actually skipped a beat, because in my brain I was like, at the time there was a lot of school shootings going on.
Yeah,
it was a split-second thing, and I was going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because he didn't, bless him, I don't know whether he'd taken something, because he didn't, he looked a little bit deranged, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, he might not have done. He literally, because the lights were so bright, he literally walked, and I could see him walking through, and he had a backpack on, and I was like, oh God, yeah. Oh my God. Only for a split second.
13, 12-year-old Joe with his horses on, he's looking at him sort of going, oh, shit.
Cute as a button. Yeah. What was going through your mind, though? What did you think? Did you think it was a hoax? It's like Sue's just done another hoax again, just to,
I mean, could be two things. It could be the absolute worst of it. Sue's done a hoax. I don't know, to be honest. I think, not to be, an artsy-fartsy actor at the age of 12, but I was like, I am a horse now. You know what I mean? I am a horse. And nobody's moving this horse. So I stayed in character. I was like, if you're going to want to talk to me, you're just going to be hearing, nay.
Nay. I want to be a maths teacher. Nay, and thrice nay.
That's what you get from me, pal. So, which really fully leads to me last thing, actually. This isn't really a question, and this is a little bit monkey dance, which I'm afraid to do this. But Will, you told me one of the funniest acting stories I've ever heard, and it was the dragon when you was in. And I'm begging you, please, can you just retell this story?
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a perfect story for any young actor as well, because again, I'd literally only just come out of drama school, and a job came up in the, in the job centre, or the temporary temping job thing that I was doing, and it was actually an acting job, if you like, as such. But it was dressing up as a 9-foot dragon, wandering around the shopping arcades around Cardiff. So I went, well, it's all right. It's like 100 odd quid a week or something like that. I thought, flipping, I could do with the money. So I went along, and what I'm going to explain this dragon costume. First of all, the dragon costume itself sort of sticks out about 4 foot in front of you, the nose, the nozzle sort of thing. And then the tail sticks out about another 6 foot behind you. And then the actual height of the dragon is about 9 foot. So you're looking through its chest, and you got your arms in the arms sort of thing. So you're wandering around the arcade, sort of like saying hello to kids and everything, and some of them scream and sort of run away, and you kind of go, oh, all right. And then some of them would sort of want pictures with you and all that sort of thing. So this is one particular day, really hot as well. I must describe the inside of the dragon costume as well. Is utterly disgusting, because you'd keep swapping over between 3 of you, because you'd have 2 people sort of walking either side, to keep away the scallies, and one of you in the dragon suit sort of thing. And so each of us, as we got in, obviously it got sweatier and smellier.
Oh, that's horrible.
It was in the middle of summer. It was really quite ripe, shall we say, inside the dragon. But this one particular day, so I'd sort of come out, and this little kid spotted me and went, ah, like that, as in excitement, sort of ran towards me. And as I went, as she was running towards me, I bent down to sort of go, hello, like that. What I didn't see was the head hit her full on the head and pretty much knocked her out. What I was unaware of then, I heard a scream from behind me, sort of like, oh, that's my, I don't know, that's my Rhiannon or whatever. And so I sort of turned to look to see where the noise was coming from. I then realised that I'd taken somebody's legs out, swept away.
With your tail?
With the tail. So now I've got mum and daughter both lying flat out, and I'm sort of going, so then they started guiding me away. So you've got this dragon, 9-foot dragon, running away from the scene of the crime. with a little girl and a lady. So if by chance, you never know, she might be watching. I apologise profusely. It was me, and I apologise.
It's like a really weird episode of Long Lost Family.
Oh, it was a really weird episode. All right, flip it out. Oh my goodness. Oh, those are the days.
But yeah, that is a perfect place to end this. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you.
Lovely to see you, Joe. We've missed you.
I know. Just to say as well, I mean, I don't know, we're hoping to open school again soon. As hopefully as the kids go back to school, then we're thinking, first couple of weeks of June at some point we'll be in touch. For any of the willing awayers who happen to watch it, who've lasted this long.
I know. Yeah. We've all grown beards.
I realise what time it is. I've just had a text off Owen going, "You're still on?"
We are, Owen. Ooh, we can have a chat. But we've not seen each other for yonks.
I know.
We need a good catch up.
I know. It'll be a great day when the bowling greens finally open.
Oh no, yeah, we're going to sit in the beer garden and yeah.
Very good day indeed.
That will be the day.
Oh yeah.
And it's all going to get a bit messy, I think, but never mind.
But thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Joe.
Enjoyed. Please check out Stone Fred Productions. Please check out A Will and Away. that's the theatre. Loads of amazing stuff going on before lockdown and, of course, after lockdown as well. So please make sure you check it all out. And thank you again, once again. Amazing.
All right.
Boom.
Bless you, Joe.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye, lovely. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.